Now, guys, I thought if I could combine some important themes that are often repeated in the examination and collect them from various sources like the budget, economic survey, RBI documents, and news articles, I thought it would be helpful for you. So today's theme for UPSC Prelims 2021, it's a very high yielding topic, is the entire news items from 2019 to 2021 on the theme of public debt in India. So we'll be looking at the entire issues from the perspective of budget, economic survey, the various notifications that RBI came up with, and also news articles. Beginning with the concept of fiscal deficit, we all know the basics, so I'm not going to repeat it. In short, deficit is something that indicates that the amount that we spent is actually greater than the revenue we got. That is the definition of fiscal deficit. But when you consider the term debt, it is a loan. So often one confuses the difference between fiscal deficit financing and debt. The difference here is that debt is long term, whereas if you take a look at fiscal deficit is simply the amount needed to fill that deficit in one financial year or fiscal year. So our economic survey in chapter 2 of volume 1 talked about the concept whether debt sustainability is an issue for India. Can we actually sustain the level of debt even in the COVID times? Because we all know that COVID lockdown has literally shattered our economy. If you take a look at this news item from June, India's fiscal deficit is at 9.3% of GDP in 2020-21. So, from the perspective of budget, we know that budget is nothing but an accounting of the revenue and expenditure from various sources. You know what these sources are. I'll be just highlighting those points which are important from MCQ. So, when we're talking about revenue expenditure, interest paid on loans. So, this is the most important concept. We will be talking about this concept again at the end of this presentation when we are discussing what economic survey spoke about debt sustainability. So, you have to remember that revenue expenditure, one of the component is the interest paid on loans. Similarly, another area of confusion is whether grants come under revenue receipt or capital receipt. You have to remember that it is revenue receipt, not capital receipt. I will not be elaborating on the rest of the things. You can just download and read it from the Telegram channel, the link for which I'll be posting in the further slides. Also, one more important point. When we are speaking about non-debt component of our budget or capital receipts, here is where another burning issue, that is disinvestment, comes into picture. So you just have to know the fund flow and how our budgets are organized. Just download this document from the Telegram group. I'll be telling the address. Another important MCQ question and another important news. Before COVID, we had an economic slowdown, and in 2019 and again in 2020, there were tax cuts. So, if you take a look at this, corporate tax rate was slashed last year, and the revenue lost was 1.45 lakh crores. And in return, they expected a multiplier effect wherein companies would be investing in India, it would create employment and therefore growth. So, what is the implication of this news item? We have to analyze from this perspective. So, if you take a look at the order of revenues, previously corporate tax was the highest source of revenue for us, followed by GST, income tax, excise, customs, and security transaction tax. You just have to remember that after this news, the entire scenario has changed. Now, GST is the highest source. Just remember this point. So, coming to the discussion on government debt, it is the year 2000, and we had an unprecedented fiscal deficit of 6%, which led the government to formulate the FRBM law, which mandated that 3% should be the fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP, and this should have been achieved by 2021 March. However, the law also gave certain conditions like natural calamities and extreme structural reforms, which slows down growth as an escape clause. So you can consider COVID as an escape clause. So this is the thing about fiscal deficit. Right now we are at 9.6% and 3% was the mandate. We have no other choice but to spend because otherwise there is no economic activity. Again, coming back to the debt issue, NK Singh committee, which is the committee on government debt, recommended that debt to GDP ratio should not exceed 60%. When you talk about debt to GDP as a parameter, what does it mean? It means that if you take the total GDP of the country, it is right now somewhere around 220 lakh crores. Out of this 220 lakh crores, the debt component should not be more than 60% according to this committee recommendation. And again, within that, center's component should be 40% and state's component should be 20%, not more than that. And mind you, when we're talking about debt, we are talking about the government debt, not private debt. Please remember this point. So 60% is the total mandate, but right now the situation is that 58.6% is the debt of center alone because of the COVID crisis. Last year we also had the status paper on government debt. Now another MCQ possible from this: is it released by RBI or is it released by Finance Ministry? Remember, it is not RBI. Debt statistics of the government, Finance Ministry is in a better position to address this question, so it is Finance Ministry. So this is the ninth edition of this particular report and it started in 2010. So what it said was, in 2019, by March 2019, 45.7% is the debt to GDP ratio of center. Now it has reached 58.6%. You can imagine the impact of COVID. So these are certain statistics. So UPSC has been asking questions about consistently increased or consistently decreased. You have to remember that it is very difficult for macroeconomic variables, especially when they're asking about growth rates or debt levels. It is very haphazard. I mean, there is no consistency exhibited by a lot of economic variables. So just remember this point. By the way, this is the address of the Telegram channel that I was mentioning about, t.me/Hindu highlights. The name of the channel is UPSC Highlights. This is the address. You can find this document on this channel. So you can go there and download it. Now we are talking about the total debt component of the government. So if you can classify this, total debt of the government can again be divided into public debt and other liabilities. So we will be talking about the smaller issue of other liabilities first. If you take a look at Article 267 and Article 267 Clause 1, so there are something like public account and contingency fund. So only this public account is a part of the government debt. So public account, this is actually run by executive action, you know this, and within this public account there are a lot of other funds which are earmarked for a very specific purpose, like say the National Small Savings Schemes Fund or the amount that we get from remittances. In all these funds, the government will just be acting as a banker to facilitate certain sovereign guarantee. So there is no question about parliamentary control here. Everything is under executive action. We'll also talk about the contingency fund. So contingency fund is something like an emergency fund, the reason for which we don't know. It is under the finance secretary and the purpose is to handle any unforeseen circumstances. Anyway, coming back to the actual component of public debt. So total debt has public debt. It is not like both are synonymous. Just remember this in your MCQs. Within public debt, we have external debt and internal debt. So internal debt means you are sourcing the fund from internal resources. So what normally happens is, whenever government needs money, it asks RBI to handle this issue by issuing certain government securities. So these are called marketable securities. Even treasury bills which have a time period of less than 1 year, they are also marketable. Government securities which have a longer tenure or greater than 1 year tenure, they are also marketable. So marketable means you can basically sell them in share market. Non-marketable means you can't sell them. So any loans given by the government to the states, or any loan taken from this NSSF or small saving schemes like Kisan Vikas Patra or the pension funds, where every month money is deducted from employees and it is deposited in this PF accounts. Government often uses these funds also in order to tap into the nature of these funds, that they are going to lie idle for a very long time. So instead of just making them sit in these accounts, government will borrow and pay back with certain amount of interest. So obviously, such kind of securities cannot be marketed because it will put the uh, funds of people in risk. Similarly, international finance institutions like World Bank, they give certain amount of money for developmental activities. They cannot be marketed as well because it is not our money. Basically non-marketable because government will not have the control over the specific set of resources. Again, this is the internal debt. One thing you have to remember is most of the funds that the Indian government takes, it is from internal sources only. When we're talking about external sources, it is just 2.7, or roughly you can say 3 to 5% of the entire debt that we'll be taking is from outside sources or outside the country. So this is the external debt. If you take a look at external debt, now what are the components of this external debt? Like we have discussed, everything that is outside the country can fall under this ambit, but for examination purpose, some important points that you have to remember is IMF. So IMF sometimes gives us money, and that component will be under external debt. Similarly, export credits. So what happens is when you're trying to export a product, after it is shipped, payment is not immediately made unless and until the importer is sure that the product he received is genuine. So what happens is a bank acts as an intermediary. If the shipping period and the entire lead time is somewhere around 45 days, within that period the bank will act as a guarantee on the exporter behalf. So these credits, it can go vice versa as well. So this component is called export credits. You don't have to go into the details of this, you just have to remember that export credit also forms a component of external debt. So UPSC generally asks which of the following is a component of external debt, not beyond that usually, but just in case you have to understand export credits as well. Now what is rupee debt? Rupee debt is something that if you take a loan on an agreement that you will pay back in Indian rupee itself rather than say US dollar, so that you can avoid the currency fluctuation, then that is called rupee debt. Even rupee debt is under external debt. Another important concept is the concept of crowding out effect. So if you take a look at the ownership pattern of state government securities as well as even in the case of center, it is more or less the same. If you remember the monetary policy classes, banks have certain statutory liquidity ratio requirements, roughly around 1%. It is not important to remember the number. You just have to remember the latest bi-monthly monetary policy rate just before the exam. Just check it once and you will be done. So they have a certain SLR requirement, right? So in order to ensure that banks are financing the government, most often after RBI issues the government securities, banks will be buying these bonds. As a result, what happens is banks are often accused of being lazy. Another thing is from the government side, the major problem is the industry has been accusing the government that it is creating a crowding out effect. That is to say, if banks are buying beyond their SLR limit because it is a safe investment, it will crowd out their investments and they don't get loans easily. So that is one problem. Another important issue is even RBI has certain amount of money. Even RBI gives its own money, or RBI invests its money in government securities again. In order to address this issue, the government has taken certain steps, uh, or rather, RBI has taken certain steps, which will be dealing in a separate video, which is beyond the scope of this particular video. So, this brings us to the first slide again. What is that? Chapter 2 of the Economic Survey asks a very important question. Does growth lead to debt sustainability? For this, it introduces a concept called interest rate growth rate differential. Too complicated, right? So let's just try to simplify this. Uh, Say, for example, if you take a loan where the interest rate is 8% and invest it in a business where the return is 12%, you will be gaining net 4 rupees, or 4% rather, right? So that is the example given in this. So they gave a word called IGRD, or interest rate growth rate differential, when this is positive. That is to say, if the interest that you have to pay is less than the growth that you are witnessing, in such kind of scenarios, the debt is sustainable. Also, interestingly, Economic Survey quotes an example where this principle was put to use in olden times. Asafuddaulah, the king who constructed Imambara in Lucknow, has actually used this principle and created employment back then when there was a famine. So, using this example, it is substantiating that debt is sustainable. Another important pointer or MCQ question for prelims. In this way, we have tried to cover everything that is important from the perspective of prelims 2021. I hope you liked the video. If you like it, please share it with your friends as well. That's it for now. Thank you.